Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to the first rendition of oh shit. God damn it. I thought I made this not full screen, and even then it fucking froze my face. Okay, there we go. Welcome to the first rendition of PvMer Spotlight, featuring none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Flash.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
So this is going to be an experiment because I'm not sure how this is going to go. I'm assuming it's going to go pretty well, but I want to do something like this because, as you all know, I host the, the State of PvM podcast, but I can't do that every fucking month because I only can do it when there's big PvM updates, otherwise it'd be stale. So instead, I would like to converse with some PvMers all across the land of Gilnor who specialize in different things, whether they're like absolute pros or they're getting their feet into stuff, like doesn't matter. But either way, I'm joined with the man Flash, so if you'd like to give a brief introduction before we start getting into the questions, here's your opportunity, sir.
Hey, my name is Flash, and I am a Twitch partner on Twitch that streams a lot of endgame content. I used to stream a lot of Duo Tobber before the release of TOA, but now I've just kind of been streaming a lot of that, mainly like solo 500s, or we just recently started getting into like 8-mans as well, 8-man 500s. Those have been a ton of fun with Sido here as well.
Dude, that shit was absolute chaos. We still need to get that 8-man clear because I think the closest we got was 7-man, but
yeah, we got the 7-man. 8-man, we had some issues on P4, but we were pretty close.
Alright, shall we get into the questions?
Yeah, sure thing.
Alright, so the first question is going to be, let's talk about your experiences outside of RuneScape. I know this is a RuneScape stream, but either way, I'd like to kind of see your gaming background, because I think you used to play League of Legends, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Let's hear about that, sir.
I started playing League of Legends around 2012. That was also around when I think EOC was about to come out as well. So I was playing RuneScape back then, from like 2009 to 2012, and then EOC came out. I quit for a bit, started playing a lot of League of Legends at the start of the middle of Season 2, which was like 2012. I played until 2018. That's around the time when I hit Challenger, and that was kind of like the only goal I really had in that game. I wasn't really looking to go pro or anything. Challenger is like the highest ranking. It's like the top 200 in the country for that. But that was the only thing I really had planned. So after I hit that, I kind of got bored with the game and started moving on to other things. I tried a bunch of different games that I didn't really like, I wasn't really interested in. But then I went back to old school RuneScape because that's when I heard that they made like an old school version of it. And I've been playing ever since.
I probably say I was kind of in a similar boat when EOC basically hit. I mean, I played for a bit because I was primarily a skiller, but then I was just slowly thinking to myself, what's the point? Because once I'm done with skilling, my whole end goal was to try out PvM. So I played a couple of things. I played League myself, but I never could get in ranked. I was always this is gonna be embarrassing to admit, but I played a shitload of bot games, and then I just became an ARAM Andy. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair, honestly.
I had so much anxiety when it came to trying to play player versus player. I always enjoyed doing like team stuff, but when it came to PvP, I just got hella anxious. So, I don't know. Even to this day, sometimes I play some ARAM. Like last night, I played a little bit of ARAM. It was kind of fun, but yeah.
Oh, really? Nice. Yeah, that's completely fair. A lot of times I play games pretty casually unless I kind of get into them. So like, if I'm playing a game that I really enjoy, then I usually try to get as good as I can at that game, just so I feel like I can like enjoy the game more because I know more about the game. And the only games I really felt that way with were League of Legends and RuneScape.
Yeah, I think for me it was probably just RuneScape. Let me think. Yeah, I think it's literally just this game that I've kind of wanted to go like mad in depth, but I put so much time in this game, so it only makes sense. All right, our next question will be, let's talk about some more out of game interests, maybe even some hobbies. You have any hobbies, sir?
Honestly, I don't really do too much besides play RuneScape, but like, I guess out of RuneScape, I do go to the gym quite a bit. I like to work out and exercise. It just helps me relieve stress, clears my mind a lot, and it's just a good way to like stay healthy as well while sitting down and play video games for a long time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I also enjoy watching like TV shows and going on Twitch a lot. I am around Twitch a lot. I'm sure like people see me around quite a bit. I just like kind of like hanging around other people's communities and just kind of seeing like what everyone's up to because I really enjoy the game, so I like watching like different aspects of the game as well, not just PvM.
Agreed. I think I started going to the gym like a couple of months ago, kind of casually. Started with just started with just biking and doing stuff at home, and then I renewed my gym membership, and that's been going pretty well. I'm still a lean bean, but I'm getting there. I'm healthy. I don't see myself ending up like you see those pictures of like the super buff dudes, and I'm not going for that. I just want to be lean.
Yeah, that's pretty much me right now. Actually, I'm not like super buff. I just try to stay lean, and then yeah, I try to like go around like 3 to 4 times a week. It's kind of hard to balance out with like life stuff and like school and everything, streaming. But as long as you can like stay consistent, it's always like a good way to just stay active, I guess.
All right. Well, with that said, I think it's time to actually get into the RuneScape stuff. So let's talk about what was your entry into PvM. What was the content that got you started?
Oh, so I I think I kind of had like a linear path going into PvM, but like I started like some harder content early because I figured like doing some of that content would help me like get into other pieces of content I was interested in. So like I did start with Zulrah, and I figured Zulrah was like a really good way to like learn a lot of the basic mechanics of the game and just like learn how to multitask with them as well. Like I did Zulrah before I learned Jad because I don't remember who told me, but someone told me that because Zulrah had a Jad phase, it would help me practice Jad easier.
Hmm.
And after getting Zulrah down, that just like Jad was a cakewalk. So I started off with Zulrah. That helped me learn a lot about PvM. Got my fire cape instantly, and then uh, went pretty much straight into raids. I did a little bit of God Wars beforehand, but God Wars isn't really too much to it. I started with Chambers. I did Chambers for a long time, and I did want to get into ToB pretty early, but it was really hard to find people to like get into ToB with back then because not many people were like good at it. It had just been like release kinda. Or like I started learning it a year after release. I pretty much learned ToB after I completed Inferno because Inferno was like another thing I figured would be like really good at helping me like learn a lot of the advanced mechanics in the game,
Oh yeah.
and it definitely like did help me become a lot better as like an individual player. That helped me transition into ToB, and like ToB is like kind of like a cakewalk nowadays. Like when you're learning in teams, because a lot of people are like a lot better at it. But back then, I didn't really know anybody who was good at ToB. I didn't know anybody who even really did ToB. People had like maybe a handful of KC. So me and like a bunch of friends, we kind of just went in there like alone. We didn't have any experience or anything. We learned ToB by ourselves, and that was like one of the most stressful but most fun I've had in my life because I think we wiped like 40 times or something before we got our first KC. But having to like learn everything ourselves, like without any help from anybody else, without having anybody carry us, I think that really helped us like transition to like a lot better players in the game. Like everybody I knew who was learning ToB with me, they're all like amazing players nowadays. Like all these guys like are like close to like rec PVs. All these people are like really experienced in the content they do now, and it was just a really good experience overall.
It's kind of I want to say that I had like the similar route where it was like I did a shitload of Zulrah. Oh, I did Firecape first, and then I did Zulrah. I used to do nothing but Hunter, As much as why I have like 25 mil hunter XP, because I didn't know how else to make money, so I just continued doing chins over and over again. And then I went straight to Zora for like, I think it was like 6,700 KC, because I felt like that was such a good way to make money. I wasn't really thinking too much about like trying to improve like my clicks or anything like that. Now I tell people, oh, so if you really want to work on your clicks, then Zora's an excellent place to start because of all the switching you need to do for it. Of course, there's people that bow camp it, but that's not the way to go about it. You want to do mage and range. But yeah, I did that for a long time, and then Raids Watt happened, and then I camped that, and then Inferno happened, and then I think I took a stab at it right around like release, but I was like, I'm not doing this. This is impossible. It was up until I think September when I finally completed it, which made me kind of happy. But the only reason I did it in the first place because I was kind of losing hope on one of my biggest grinds, which was the omelet. And then ToB happened, and oh man, ToB was trying to do ToB on release was probably one of the most gut-wrenching experiences. It was painful. It was absolutely painful. But
yeah, I heard so many stories about it. Like I'm actually like really jealous that I wasn't here on any release besides TOA, because like I was watching like videos and like I heard stories back then about people just like pretty much going through what I went through, but like maybe like 2 or 3 times worse, where they're just wiping like hundreds of times on end before their first KC.
Yeah, it also didn't help that a lot of the mechanics on release were a little bit more punishing, because the 2-tick bloat hands that could hit you twice in a row. And then you had the soap balls, which you could get same tick by the mage and range balls, and then the big ball, based on how close you were, would be faster as well. So there's just a lot more bullshit you had to deal with ToB and release. But you also mentioned when it came to like trying to get into speeds, or were doing it with friends. I had a much similar experience where we didn't know what the fuck we were doing at all. Like we were just wet and blind. We did ask for help and we got some tips, but a lot of that stuff like went into one ear and out the other, because we were talking about Nilo waves and caps, and I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck are they talking about? I don't understand any of this at all. So yeah, it was fun. I still remember like first time getting into speedrun ToB, I'm literally sitting there and like this was on vacation, but I'm sitting in a hotel bed on my MacBook trying to do speedrun ToB with the boys. It was a fun experience. It was really fun.
Yeah, speedrunning ToB is actually like one of the most fun content I've done. I didn't really like get into it until maybe like 2000 KC. I was always like a big casual player up until then, but yeah, doing speeds is like kind of different for ToB. It feels like for that sort of content, everybody kind of needs to know like everyone individually kind of needs to know like a lot about the raid, so that way they can perform like really well individually. It's not just something like I don't feel like anybody in that raid can slack, and the same can kind of go for like the M5s, for instance. Like those kind of like speedrunning content takes a lot of coordination, and that's why I really like those kind of speedrunning content.
I'm not even sure if not for me getting into ToB speedrunning, if I would have gotten into CM speedrunning, because I had a big background in doing a lot of chambers before ToB, but I had like no speedrunning background at all. I remember I had one opportunity to do it, and that was when I was asked by a man named Hato, but I flunked out of the team after one run. And it wasn't even because I did well. It was because I was going with a bunch of people who I didn't know, and my anxiety was through the roof.
That's fair enough, honestly. It's always hard to like kind of coordinate with a new team. You have to like kind of build that synergy and just kind of learn everybody's habits, learn how to play off of them.
Yeah,
every team kind of like works differently, even if there is a set meta.
I want to say now that kind of weird anxiety of mine is like kind of gone now, but back then, dude, oh, it was so bad. Like it was so bad. That's why I was like, it was nice when I was able to learn ToB speeds with a bunch of people on my level, and they were close friends too, because I didn't really have to worry about that. We fuck up, we just have a laugh about it, move on. If I fuck up with these other guys that are like these god tier gamers, I'm like, fuck, shit, I fucked it up. But oh well.
Yeah, honestly, I felt the same way. Like I have a lot more fun just doing speeds or anything with my friends a lot more than say people who actually like kind of knew what they were doing or like people who have done it before. A lot of that kind of comes just from like my own like anxiety, but
Yeah, that's completely fair. All right, let us talk about ToB. We can talk about the various scales. We can also talk about duos because I think it's fair to say a lot of people know you for your PogChampion duos, a scale you're best known for. So let's talk about that a bit.
yeah. So Duo Top is my favorite scale because I just felt like duoing was a lot more engaging for the raid for me because with less people in the raid, like you get to do a lot more in the raid, I guess if that makes sense. Like you get to fill in more roles yourself. Whereas like in teams, you're kind of just like taking a linear route the whole time. You just like pick a role, you just do the same thing every time. I feel like in duos you have to kind of like learn to adapt a lot more to like different things, like especially Nilo. I think every ToB player out there can respect that duo Nilo is probably like has like the biggest variance out of any scale, and that's why it's like probably one of the best contents in the game. Um, yeah, for like other scales, like I don't really mind other scales. They all have their benefits. Like trios is usually the best for money. Fives is like the best for speeds, more people, more DPS, and then fours is like probably that good in between. That's why it's so popular to do fours.
Oh
Fours can
yeah,
be like pretty fast, and they can also get some good money. I really enjoy solos and duos though because of like how engaging the content is. Solos, however, solos can take a long time, so it's not like my favorite scale, but it is a good scale for me. It's just that it takes me maybe like an hour to complete a solo tab.
yeah. When it comes to solo, the only reason I even completed solo was because it was on the Oblivion Diary. Otherwise, I don't think I would have ever completed solo. I hate it. I hate it so much. This shit took me like over 40 attempts in a span of a week, and I'm pretty sure 75% of those depths were in the Nyla room because I didn't want to click yellow.
Yeah, fair enough, honestly. There's a lot of times where you don't have to click yellow in that room, but it can be like pretty sketchy.
Oh
So I
yeah.
usually just kind of play it safe, but I think when I was learning solo tab, my hardest room was probably Zarpus. I don't know why. It took me like the longest time to try to get that walk under method down. Just like keeping the same vortex cycle every time, but yeah, that was probably like one of the biggest breaks for me. I think Nilo wasn't too bad, honestly.
Yeah, I was graced because when I decided to attempt it, blood theory was a thing. So my plan for Zarpus was when I entered the room, I'd start dwindling my HP like right off the bat because then it's like, okay, well while I'm doing the whole Zarpus procedure, I can heal my HP back, and then when I get like close to full HP, repeat it again. So I was just abusing the fact that I was getting heal off blood furies, but it was
Blood Fairy definitely made it a lot easier, yeah.
oh
I
yeah,
remember trying to do it back then without it.
I don't think I sent an attempt until Blood Fury came out, but it was probably because I had no intention of completing the Oblivion Diary at the time. As for duo scale, duos they weren't too bad. I actually enjoyed them. The only thing that kind of hurt my brain was, of course, duo Nyla, because going from learning all those rotations, at least from like trio, four man, and then you got duo, it's just like holy shit. There's a lot to fucking take in for duo, especially
Yeah,
like
Duo Nyla is actually insane. Like you have to pretty much you follow your role and then you have to like adapt to like other roles as well. And not only that, but like the random spawns that come out from like bigs popping, for instance. And just kind of coordinate. You have to like really coordinate with your partner as well. It's like super important to just not double up in a duo. It's just too much to do, really. So doubling up kind of like wastes a lot of time.
oh yeah. I mean, it kind of makes it easier now that Runelight does have that. What was it called? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. It's like Nilo Entity Hider or something. I can't remember the name of it, but it's the one that, based on your XP drop, it hides the Nilo for anyone in your party.
Yeah, I think it's called Nilo Death Indicator.
Okay, that's what it's called. Yeah, I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but that shit's kind of a. It's huge. It's fucking huge for any scale. It's huge. But yeah, who knows? Like maybe I'll try to send more duos at some point because that is definitely the one skill I need to work on the most. Nilo is not my specialty. Every other room I can do like all right, but Maiden Freezes and then Nilo, 100%. I can definitely work on that more. Have you sent any ToBs since TOA with like the new gear, or you haven't yet?
I've spent maybe like a handful of like duos with a couple other friends, but yeah, like just kind of trying out the new items a bit, and the new ring is very good there for sure. It's still kind of in the works, trying to figure out like where the best times to use it are. A lot of times it's like, I mean, everyone knows like P1 is probably the best place to use it, so you get that
Yeah,
extra. It saves a lot of time in duos. It can save like almost 30 seconds. It's kind of insane. But like everywhere else, it kind of depends on like where your spec is at that moment, and then how long you can keep it on for as well. Because the ring's not really like effective unless you can like keep it on for like say at least 15 seconds, so that way you get like at least a full spec back before you take it off. Because it's kind of like rapid heal, where like if you put it on or take it off, it also resets the spec energy bar as well. So
yeah.
you have to really be careful on like when you want to like get that extra spec back.
That makes me wonder though, because I contemplated this before the release of the ring, and it was like for I guess trio and or duo scale. If the specs are doomed at soap, would it be okay to camp the ring, or is it just worth camping Berserk ring anyway, even though specs might be doomed?
That's kind of something I'm still like in the works with, but me personally, like if you miss both hammers at so that I'd probably camp the ring honestly, because if you're like not gonna hit, I don't think B ring's gonna do much anyways.
Yeah, that was that whole thought process I had is like if specs are bad for like trio or duo, you might as well camp the ring because hitting a 140 defense zone, um, with like well 200 defense so with a berserker ring will not feel as good as hitting a 140 defense so with a berserker ring. So probably just better for
Yeah,
you to go for the extra spec and pray that RNGesus does not cuck you once more.
not really too much of a difference there, yeah. And like I guess another good item at TOB would probably be the Fang, surprisingly. Like a lot of people probably wouldn't think the Fang because a lot of things in TOB are weak to slash, but the Fang is pretty decent at Sode, I'd say, because like so you can't really reduce the defense all the way on Sode, even if you hit two hammers. It's capped at two hammers, so that's like 100 defense still. And with
Yeah.
that high of defense, the Fang might be better. It kind of depends, I guess.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because it's actually, I believe it's actually better than the Sail Door, which was an item a lot of people would try to grind for ToB. But now you have this Fang you can go for, which is like it replaces so many items, or at least it can like be close to so many items in so many places that you don't even need to bother to go for certain grads. Like Dragon Hunter Lance, you don't really need it. You can just go for the Fang. Of course, it's a bit awkward in chambers when you're trying to do like 3-1 or side camp with a Fang, but it works there. And I think it actually beats out the Saildor at P2 Verzik and P3. I need to look at the calcs, but I saw someone say something like that. But even then, I'm assuming it would be close, which is insane to think about.
Yeah, definitely. I was kind of thinking about it at Verzik as well. I hadn't really like tried it too much there, but like Verzik's like another place where I could definitely see it being pretty good because you can't reduce Verzik's defense. So like anything that you can't really like reduce down to low defense, like that's usually where the Fang can kind of like override the scythe.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've also tried the new staff quite a bit too for TOB, and honestly, it's pretty good. Like it doesn't seem that good at first because it's like two-handed and it's 5 tick. So like losing a lot of ticks, lose a lot of DPS, but it has some like really niche uses and like lower scales where like one of the biggest things about the staff is like you get like a lot of accuracy bonus when you equip it. You get like triple the accuracy. So like if you're in a lower scale like solo or duo, you don't really need to bring as many mage switches. Like you can just go in with like a 3 or 4 way if you wanted to, and you can still freeze like all the crabs at Maiden. and you can still hit pretty hard on the crabs at Nilo. So that's kind of something we're still in the works with as well.
Ooh, okay, that's good to note. Um, if you were to miss specs at SOT and you had like a heavy mage switch, would it beat out Scythe or is Scythe still better?
Do you mean like Scythe or maging it?
Yeah, like using Shadow at SOT compared to Scything SOT, like a high defense SOT.
Honestly, I've been seeing some people try the Shadow at SOT, and the Shadow at SOT is pretty good as well. So I would say like, I guess if you miss specs and you have like a lot of mage switches, the Shadow would probably be better.
Yeah. Oh, that actually reminds me. This is kind of a meme, but I'm thinking that maybe for like high risk ToB, if Hemis host more of those, I might come up with a setup where I use like a max mage setup and I try to mage as much as fucking possible because the shadow isn't too bad and people tend to grieve Zarpus, right? So then maybe the play is just mage Zarpus because mage is actually all right without the shadow. It's not the best, but a high defense Zarpus, you might as well mage it if you can't melee it, right? So maybe with the shadow, you can mage Zarpus and still maintain high deeps. No one leaked the strats, okay?
Yeah, Zarpus doesn't have like any like magic defense bonuses. It just has like a relatively high magic level, but like
Yeah.
yeah, that's like kind of where yeah, like the shadow could come in. The shadow's actually like really surprising on like where it could be good at because of the triple accuracy bonus. I think it might actually like change a lot of metas and like not only ToB but like a lot of like other endgame content as well. A lot of places you would normally like range or places like you couldn't like reduce the defense at. That's usually where the new shadow would probably shine.
Yeah, and the places where it's are like chambers, right? It's disgusting at chambers. Like it's absolutely bad, disgusting. Like
Yeah,
if
I've
Vast
been watching
Portal
some people
melts.
do it at home, and it just like slaps like 80s. It's kind of crazy.
For solos, it's a bit awkward because you have to learn that 12-0, 8-1 cycle, and you have to do like a long range mage shit for 8-1. But outside of that, it's fucking nasty. It's like I think it's a 1 minute time save on average, at least in teams. I'm not sure what it is in solos, but I would assume it'd probably be something similar. It's
One
gross.
minute, wow, that is yeah, insane.
All right, I think we should move on to the next question. So let's talk a bit about Tombs of Amascut. What were your initial thoughts, and if there were any changes you'd maybe like to see, especially with like CA tasks, because we haven't seen any CA tasks yet. So maybe what kind of CA tasks you'd like to see?
So CA tasks, I can't really think of like what they would do for like individual rooms, but I'm assuming like CA tasks for TOA would probably just be like similar to like the other raids where there'd probably be like perfect tasks and speeds. I'd really be looking forward to the speeds, but perfect tasks I'm not a big fan of. And I think one of my biggest like pet peeves for like perfect tasks for TOA I'd probably say would be maybe wardens because wardens there's like a lot of things where it's like hard to see, like a lot of
Oh
projectiles that
yeah.
are like hard to see. So like a lot of that avoidable damage is like really difficult to deal with, especially in teams. And yeah, I think speeds for all scales would be, well, not all scales, not like one player through eight, but like maybe like solo and maybe 8-man would be really fun to see. Solo speeds are really enjoyable to watch. There's a lot of like individual mechanics in the game that are really nice to see, like watching people do butterfly, people red Xing, and then 8-man teams. Those are just like super hectic. So it's like really nice to see like how people can kind of control all the chaos that goes on.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy to see that there's more of a kind of a speed scene that's finally starting to form. You have people like Smurk who currently hold the record and they're just going hard at it and try to get the record. I've seen some other players trying to go for it too. Off the top of my head, like some of the Bliv players, like let's see, I saw Umar was trying. Drix is sending runs. I think Drix is doing 150s though. He's not doing expert. And then there's one more. Priority is another one who's I know is trying to go for the wreck or like a really fast time. So it's nice to see that. There was also people trying to compete for the highest raid level completion, but as we all know, that has already been accomplished by Noob Type, who's got the 600 invo run done. Even with the time on, I know people are going to be like, he had the time on, but it's impossible. It is impossible to complete it with making the time. So, of course, you can only do that as kind of like a challenge, right? But, yeah, either way, it's still kind of nice to see, like, the speed scene developing. I'm kind of curious to see what else could come out of it, because, yeah, we got stuff like Butterfly, but maybe there might be some more unconventional stuff people end up digging. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely. It's only been out for like a month, so I'm like really looking forward to see like what other things people could come up with. Because like ToB was out for 4 years before TOA came out, and people discovered so much about that, and people are still like learning a lot of new stuff about that raid. So like, I just feel like there's like so many endless things you could actually find within like all these like different pieces of content. I think that's like really cool to see. Also, yeah, my initial thoughts on TOA, I actually really didn't enjoy it. Like there was a lot of issues when it came out. It was like really buggy. Of course, that's like to be expected, but also like just the general feel of the raid was like it felt very similar to Chambers when it came out because of like
Yeah.
the mixed puzzle and bossing aspect. And one of the biggest reasons why I like ToB was just like the engagement of like, I mean, just fighting bosses. But like as I started doing more TOA and like just getting more used to like all the puzzles going along with all the boss rooms and like the different ways to do certain puzzles, I kind of like learned that there was like a lot more to the raid than like what I initially saw. And I think it's like pretty good now, like especially with all the updates and the hot fixes that have been coming in. Like I think they've been doing like a really good job with just keeping the raid on track. I think the raid is like probably one of the best updates that ever came to the game, honestly. And it definitely met like the expectation that people were like expecting for the new raid to come out after all these years.
Yeah.
But like I guess like some complaints I still kind of have, like it's just like small complaints, but like I'm sure they'll get to it eventually, is like I guess like one thing would be like changes to like the supply stack at first, because I mean at the moment, like after all the changes they made, people still go like power into life like 99% of the time. You don't really pick chaos unless you're like really down bad in the middle of the raid. But a lot of times like there's so many ways to play around that depending on like what you bring into the raid. So
Yeah.
like kind of wish they made chaos like a little more viable, like maybe kind of make it as like some kind of like secondary option if like you want to plan out like some kind of like different strat rather than just like make it a last resort kind of. And I guess Baba red Xing, so like that's a very common method that people do in like 500 plus solos for TOA. That's where you just like click the altar in the middle of the room and you kind of like stall the boss so he doesn't like move, so you can like move under him and just like do like a 1-for-1 cycle. You pretty much take no damage, you get free damage off, and you just kind of finish the room as if like nothing happened. That I kind of wish like they would change a little bit, because like I don't really like mechanics in the game where they make it to where you can't really interact with the boss at all, or like the boss can't interact with you. I feel like that always needs to be changed, because what's the point of like doing the boss then, I guess?
Yeah.
And
I
like they
mean,
can kind of do something similar like what they did with Next for that, I guess.
I was gonna mention Butterfly because they kind of soft nerf Butterfly, but it's still rewarding to do it. I think some people's complaint when it comes to Baba is just the fact that Baba fucking slaps. Like, Baba actually slaps, dude. It is
Yeah.
disturbing. I think it's not as
Like
bad now with the changes to raid level, but still.
mhm. It's like a necessity kind of to kind of do red Xing Baba for 500s. Like you can do it without it, but it's like so much RNG if you're not red Xing. Like you kind of have to rely on just not getting railed constant 20s through prayer and actually getting Blood Fury procs or something. Because like if you're going to get hit through prayer, like you just expect to get hit through prayer. Like you don't want to just like RNG your way through it. It should be like I guess if they were to make a change to not red X, then I mean the first thing to do would just be like make it to where Baba doesn't like constantly hit you through prayer. Like maybe make his attacks a little more inaccurate or something. Because like Yeah, just taking all that unavoidable damage kind of forces us to like do those things. Same thing with like Akka kind of, but Akka they did kind of like soft nerf it a little bit already.
Yeah, I think with Akka it's in a good spot. I kind of felt the same way. I wasn't like too upset in regards to like TOA unrelease, but I definitely felt like there were definitely some things that need to be tweaked. I think my biggest gripe right now is so no one went on this giant rant about like opening the sack and it's all clunky and shit, so that could be fixed a bit. But I think the worst thing that I absolutely despise is when Warden does that one attack and you have like the beams, like shoots out the beams one side and another, and there's like converging in the middle, right? If you phase Warden, the beams don't dissipate.
Yeah, they were talking about I think they even mentioned that they got rid of that, but
Did
they
they?
still don't dissipate. Yeah, I think they put that in one of the recent blogs or patch notes, but like I noticed that as well because I read that somewhere from like the RS team. And so I just stood there for one of my raids and it still got me. And I pretty much almost died because of it.
Yeah, it sucks. Like, I don't understand why the other ones they just stop completely, and then that one doesn't. Maybe it's just the way it's programmed. It's like completely different. But either way, that one absolutely just fucking sucks. Um, and for CAs, okay, I know this is probably not gonna happen because thinking about it, I think it's impossible. But me, Noob, and some others jokingly talked about how it's like one of the CAs should be trying to protect the pot and call the CA tiles a pot friend. But the only problem is that when waves come out, you would have to figure out a way to like push it through the waves, and then there's that off chance you push it like into the shore. So
That would be kind of insane, but I think that'd be kind of fun actually.
yeah, they would have to do something maybe to make it possible. Kind of like the CA for the Koth task and next, because beforehand, right, the Koth would just dissipate after the phase. But then they change it where the Koth carries over throughout the whole fight. Or at least it dissipated in, what was it? It dissipated when final phase happened, was what happened. But they changed it where it actually stays through that phase now. So, who knows, maybe they could do something like that, but I doubt it.
Yeah. I think that'd be pretty creative.
Another obscure one would be killing a baboon with boulders. But the problem is that the boulders do like not as much damage as you'd expect when you sit next to a baboon with a boulder. It only does like, I think it's like a quarter of its HP or something. And I'm not sure if it gets increased with the amount of players next to it, but that would be interesting if they tweaked that a bit to make it more of a incentivized to try to yeet the baboons with boulders that Baba throws at you.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Oh, I guess like another like complaint as well for like TOA is like I just feel like they should kind of like raise the bar a bit on like invocation levels as well.
yeah,
I I feel like even people who don't really know how to do PVM at the moment, they can like kind of get into TOA like way too easily, especially like higher raid levels as well. And I just think like maybe for instance, like the normals are kind of set at like a minimum of 150. Anybody could like do 150s without like any arms. It'd be kind of yeah. I would say like I would say like normals could be raised up to maybe like 200s or like 250s, and like experts should be raised maybe to like 400s. And also maybe they've changed invocations as well a lot this past month, but I think maybe they could tweak like maybe some of the more like less common invocations a bit more, and then just finalize those a bit within like the next upcoming weeks because I guess like for instance medic, like no one ever takes medic, like no one
oh,
ever takes medic unless you or us doing 8-man 500s because it's the only thing left that we can take.
yeah.
Like
Even then,
medic
we
is
literally
so
have
bad.
noob type is literally camping there with chins the whole time. He's just literally just sitting there chinning everything. We're just hitting the boss. He's doing all the work.
New type is actually the MVP for our team. Like he is just like chinning all these random swarms while we're trying to like control the hectic Kefri room, keep track of like who's like throwing out all the dung and everything. Meanwhile, you just see like random chins flying around in the background.
That
But
actually made me
yeah,
think that a good strat we could actually do is, since sometimes he might get dunked, right? And he won't be able to do anything, is maybe have one person that's just straight up dedicated to killing him off with a long range weapon. So that way everyone can just focus on hitting the boss, and that other person can focus on hitting the swarms. And you just swap them out based on like who's about to get done. So you could actually base it off of like team position in the party order. I think that'd actually be not too bad to do, at least for like the bigger teams.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be a pretty good strat.
Yeah, I thought about it recently because I was watching some friends trying to go for 500 clears, and they're like, they have this one guy that's literally sitting there with Bofa, and he's like, you guys aren't doing anything. It's like, well, you're sitting there with a Bofa, so they're expecting you to do it all the time, right? The only time it's kind of hard to do it would be when you're getting dunked. So that's why I was like, maybe you should do that. That actually might work. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe like some changes they could do for medic would be like, I mean, obviously like the easiest solution would be like raising the invocation on it because of how like horrible that like invocation is at the moment. But like, I guess like one of the better solutions would be maybe just like reducing like the speed at which the swarms kind of come in as well. Because I feel like they come in like really quickly sometimes. Like it's hard to really get hits in between the swarms, especially in solos.
Yeah, it starts
Like
to
you can
speed
do
up.
like
As you progress through the fight, it speeds up. And the problem is that throughout all the scales, that speed up is the same. So maybe if they adjusted the time based on how many people are alive, or just based on team size, because I know some of the mechanics they do based off of like how many people are alive. Example, Warden Skull's HP scales based on how many people are alive, which is nice. Gives people a fighting chance, but could probably do the same thing with the swarm. So maybe add some sort of formula where it doesn't spawn as fast when there's not as many people alive.
yeah, definitely. I guess like another invocation they could also look into would be like maybe keep back for Akka, which is like the one where he like does melee damage around him if he does range or mage. A lot of people like will never take that unless they know how to butterfly. I guess
Yeah.
like it kind of like gives more incentive to learn the butterfly, but maybe something they could do with that for like some of the people just like trying to ease their way into it would be like whenever so like you can flick the prayers whenever that invocation is on. You can like flick from melee prayer to like ranger mage one tick later, but you still take damage through prayer from both attack styles. So like maybe something they could do would be like if you get the melee prayer on in time, then you just don't take damage.
I think that'd be fair, to be honest, because it would be more skillful instead of you having to flinch it, because people are flinching at like Berserk and losing ticks pretty much. So
Yeah.
it'd be kind of nice to do that. I think that'd be a pretty good solve for it. I think Quiet Prayers is another one that's like people are doing their best to have that one turned off, because taking chip damage sucks in rooms, especially like Zebak. Especially if it's like raid level 4 and you have it shit on, yeah, good luck. You're fucking getting destroyed.
I was just about to mention that as well. Yeah, like quiet prayers is another invocation that like almost nobody takes because like yeah, like you just get chipped down so much on those rooms that just like rapid fire like constant autos on you. So like Z-Back is like probably one of the worst when he's in rage, especially at higher levels. And not only that, but P2 wardens as well. You already take a lot of damage through prayer from that room alone. And if that
Yeah.
room takes a long time, say in like 500 solos where you have like 3 or 4 downs, then yeah, that room can really chip away at like the rest of your remaining supplies that you have already. Because like you already go in there with like no supplies.
That reminds me, have you seen how much damage a warden does before they got rid of, what was it, silent prayers? The combination of quiet and silent together. Did you see how much damage that shit did?
Yeah, that was yeah, there was a reason why nobody ever took that prayer. Like some people would maybe try quiet prayers sometimes, but nobody in their right mind would ever select silent prayers.
No, there was one person that did it, and they completed a 500 run with it too. J-Rays, who's someone I'm going to be talking about in this video I'm working on. He did it, and it was literally him just running around brewing the whole time.
Really, I'd have to check that out sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that just sounds nuts. Like 25% reduction on prayers. That's
it was
crazy.
it was that and quiet prayers. So he's getting hit 33s, and then for a final phase of the boss, the phantoms are also hitting on like 20s as well. So it's
Oh
just
my god.
insane. You'd think he'd die at Zebek, but he did the poor Khazard method for Zabak, so he just sat in the back, ate sweets, and then used Venges. But still, that was I have to applaud him because that run was insane to watch. It was a really interesting run. But yeah, I agree. I feel like either they need to make some tweaks to some of the invocations, or they need to reweigh some of the invocations. I don't think there's really much they need to tweak about quiet prayers. The only thing there is that they should tweak the amount of points that you get from it, because no one wants to have it on. No one. Even in our 500 runs, we opt in to not have it turned on, just so Zebek isn't fucked, because I think when we first started doing 500 teams, we had it on, but we had dehydration turned off, so we could brew for it. Even then, it just sucks. It just fucking sucks. No one likes it. Please tweak.
Definitely. And like the most recent update as well, where they like kind of raised the bar on like some of the invocations that we already took, and like they added in like deadly prayers as well. I felt like that was like a good idea, but they should have probably worked on like what we were just talking about with like the invocations that nobody uses really, because like with that update, I think you can kind of get like free like 40 invocation, and so that just makes it like a lot easier to kind of like lower the bar on like some of the raids that you do now, because you just get like you can like enter like 300s or 350s without even taking like insanity. So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of an issue as well.
I actually did that. I did a run with one of my subs, and I turned Insanity off because he's like, I don't like Insanity. And because I think he didn't have a shadow, so our DPS was kind of low. So it's like, okay, probably the safest thing we can do is turn Insanity off. Oh my god. It's too easy. I think you might be able to do solo 500 without Insanity turned on as well. Of course, that's gonna require a little bit more work in your part for the rooms before. But if for whatever reason you hate Warden P4, there you go. Just turn Insanity off and you're good.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we should do that in our teams. Maybe we can figure that out. We just need to have a solution for double trouble.
I think yeah. I don't know if that will really make too much of a difference for us, but like I know like the biggest issue that we had was like P4.
Yeah, that's the scary part is P4. So we could maybe see if we could do some cheese there, because I know the one thing you can do is everyone kind of sits in a corner and does the retardant walk. I'm not sure who was the person that invented it, but I'm just gonna call it the retardant walk. But it's that diagonal walk you do the whole time, and you don't get hit by any of the hit scan attacks from Simon Says. Not sure if it'd work out in 8-man though, because everyone would have to be DD'd for that. So I don't know about that one, but who knows? Now
I think like
sorry.
lastly for like no, you're good. I think like lastly like another like couple invocations that they could probably get rid of or like work around would be like the amount of lives you get per raid too. Like I don't think anybody ever uses the like 10 or 5 lives per raid. People will either do like hardcore for like the highest invocation. You only need 1 life if you're doing like a full team. It's not really worth to keep going in a raid if people die midway or like wipe midway, because you're just kind of like out of supplies. Or
Yeah,
the 3 deaths, I guess, if you don't want to play that risky. But like yeah, 5 or 10 deaths per raid. Like if you're like looking to have more lives than 3, like people just turn those off completely and you get unlimited. So there's just no point in taking those anyways.
yeah, I agree in that department. Of course, there's also room for new invocations to come out, because that was the whole nice thing about the invocation system, is that, with what we got right now, it's not the end. It kind of makes sense that they're taking so much time before introducing new ones, because they want to make sure that the current set we've got is good. But it'd be kind of cool to see some more stuff, because, don't get me wrong, I think the Warden fight is nice. It is a fight that is none like any other in the game. It is more positionally focused compared to other fights, that's the charm I like about it. You're rewarded for being positioned well, and if you're positioned poorly, you're gonna get fucked. But there was some neat stuff I was thinking, like well, let me start, like, before I go in the wardens. For one, I think Baba could definitely see some changes, like, okay, the baboons are scary because they open sarcophaguses, right? But why have those guys when you can have the guys from the other room pull up, right? Like, maybe have some explosive baboons, or maybe have some of the Coomer baboons pull up. It would make the room more interesting.
That would be pretty scary, but I think that'd be like pretty fun to have like cursed baboons or like volatiles running around during Baba. That would just make the room like so much more chaotic, but sounds a little fun.
Yeah, and then I think for Kefri, the only change I could maybe see for that is maybe having it where instead of like, okay, I like overlords, but I was assuming when overlords was a thing, it'd be like as you're fighting it, you'd have a random spawn throughout the fight. I'd probably like to see something like that more than just like preset spawns, because it's like, oh no, everyone's focus is broken up, now we have this scare we gotta kill before things get hectic, and if we don't kill that one, then another one pulls up, which would be kind of cool maybe to have like a random one spawn every so often instead of preset, but I'm not sure what the coding limitations are on that one.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty good balance as well. Like, yeah, not really having like the spawns come out every like shield threshold going down, but like, yeah, like occasionally like a random like melee soldier or like a random spitter coming out.
Yeah,
I don't know about an arcane, but
if they're going to do random melee ones though, they have to make it spawn in random places, because as you all know, everyone has the zoo cage set up nowadays. So he would literally just be there to kill the boss. That's it. He wouldn't be threatening at all. Or just have him rock through dung, and then the zoo cage is nullified, but then people are going to be very upset about that one. Maybe only have that happen when you have the invocation turned on. And that's it. Then it wouldn't be as bad. But otherwise, people would not be happy with the fact that you're ruining my trapping of the scarab. Hello? My solos are ruined. As for wardens, I was thinking, okay, the windmill attack is already scary, but instead of it being like segmented in 4, I was thinking like maybe you have one that affects the special attacks to make them a bit more scary. Have it segmented in 8s instead. That would be fucked, but it'd be kind of fun to see. I don't know if lightning cluster bombs would be okay. If they were to do that, then they'd probably have to adjust a couple of things. And then I'm not sure what they would have to change for the one where it like closes in on you, like shoots them out and closes in on you. I'm not sure what they could do differently for that, but maybe having an invocation adjust those special attacks would be cool. And another thing is maybe have a little bit more variety for, you know how it has the prayer orbs and it has that shadow ball, right? The only thing that kind of sucks about it is it's gated around what HP the core is at. So I believe the threshold's above 55, at least that's what the wiki says. Above 55, it'll do the prayer orbs. So melee, range, and mage. Once it dips below that, then it starts sending shadow orbs, but it doesn't use the prayer orbs anymore.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. I think they could probably like adjust that a little bit. And yeah, I would like to see like invocations like working around the P2 specials, because like you said, like they only have like the ones where like it increases the damage or just makes them like more potent, like quote unquote.
Yeah. I think, okay, this is the only last one I probably suggest, but this one, I think everyone would love to see this as a challenge, okay? And this would be have both the wardens fight you for P2. Both of them.
That is a nice one, actually. I would like to see that.
Now, my suggestion to not make it like, okay, now it's double the HP, so it's hell, is maybe adjust the HP, where the total HP instead would probably equal out to be, give or take, somewhere around, like, let's say 120% to 150%, compared to 200%, which would be 2 wardens. So they could do something to not make it where it's like an actual double fight in terms of HP value, but a double fight in having to worry about like 2 wardens at once, and maybe have them synced up in some way where you'll always be able to flick the attacks. Because you have the one warden that doesn't follow you, you have the one warden that does follow you, so I feel like that would make like an excellent... they would work really well together. I feel like Jagex could come up with something to make that work, but I would love to see some sort of invocation like that.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't seem like that far-fetched either. Like, I mean, if they kind of have like the same specials, then you just kind of have to worry about like the different like auto attacks coming out. It can also kind of be
Yeah.
like distance based as well, where like you can kind of like stay closer to one warden, and then that should be able to like that should be enough to like off tick like both of them, depending on like where you are. So like,
But
yeah, I think like fighting both of them wouldn't be that big of a deal, honestly.
yeah, I think it'd be cool to see for sure. But who knows? Um, do you have any interesting invocation ideas by chance, sir?
Honestly, so I mean, I guess like one thing I thought of, I hadn't really like thought too much about it, but one thing I was kind of thinking of the other day was maybe like a P4 invocation. Like P4, it seems kind of like untouched because of like how like hectic like everything else throughout Wardens can be, but like maybe like another invocation where like I it may sound kind of crazy, but maybe where they add like all four bosses on that phase. It might be a bit too much, but I
I've
think that'd
heard
be
that
kind of
one.
funny to see. Yeah.
I don't know how people would handle that. That's for sure. I'm like scratching right now, like thinking like, how are you gonna handle that? Holy shit, that'd be a challenge. It's
Like maybe they'd like off tick like Akka and the Croc, Akka and Zebak, and then just like yeah, have the bombs going out whenever. Like as long as you can like flick everything and dodge both bombs with the lightning and everything, I think it'd be doable.
people are gonna not have aerial assault on. That's all I'm going to say. I'm gonna have that shit turned off for sure. Oh man. I think that's another gripe I actually have in regards to TOA is just when it comes to using the sound or using some of like the animations, there's a bit of clutter, especially with the sounds. Like P4 and Rage, there's so much sound going on, it's hard to kind of focus on like everything. Especially if you're like going off of sound cues to tell like, okay, so this is coming out of Zebak, right? Um, but you can't really tell because you're focusing on like him lifting up tiles. I know there's some players that don't play with sounds, but for the players that do play with sounds, that's one thing. And then another thing is the shadows. They love using shadows for indicating attacks, but they use it for too many attacks because lightning, black shadow, the fucking boulder, and the fireball from Kefri, black shadow, and then the lightning bombs from P2, and that shadow ball. Guess what? It is also a shadow. And they look the exact same. There's no distinction between them.
Yeah, I think if they were to like do something like that, especially like for P4, like it'd be nice to have like some kind of like distinction for like the visual cues and maybe like different sound levels or such for the audio cues because like yeah, like everything does kind of sound the same on P4. I don't think anybody really uses sounds for those. A lot of people will just go off visual cues. And like maybe I don't know, like they could probably change like the like indicator color or like the shadow differences for like a lot of the projectiles falling down. Like yeah, it's like really hard to tell between like say like a Baba boulder or like the lightning shadow. Maybe make the Baba boulder like a lot bigger before it comes down.
Yeah. I know the Baba Boulder has like rocks or like kind of like an indication like small rocks are coming down, but it's hard to see sometimes. And I'm more focused on the shadows than that, so it's pretty tough. So I've accidentally run into boulders so much because of the fact that it's like you can't really tell. I think the shadows kind of overlay sometimes, but I don't know. Jagex, I feel like they could do a better job of differentiating the attacks a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Because like a lot of times, like especially when you get down to like one or two rows left, like you kind of have to tank something. And I think it'd be cool to see like if you can like distinctly tell like which vessels are which. You can like tank like say a lightning instead of the Baba boulder, like intentionally instead of just like going off of like whatever you think's going to happen or like whatever wherever you see like boulders like about to fall, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm kind of interested to see what kind of stuff they come up with in regards to new invocations. But at the same time, it makes me wonder if they're going to add more invocations. What should come first, the CA tasks or the new invocations? Because obviously, if they add more invocations, then it might null and void some of the CA task maybe, or it'll just be like there's a missed opportunity where they could have had some really cool CAs if they had like, brought in new invocations first.
I think we should definitely finalize the invocations first, like just get that sorted with, so that way we can have like consistent like variation in raids instead of like just like the same like set route that everybody takes. Because I think like nowadays like the invocation system, there is a lot of variety to it. Like almost everybody has like a slightly different like route that they take, but everybody always follows like a set like number of invocations because of like how good they are, like how much they give, and like how comforting they are to have. But I want to see like a little bit more variation in that, and then like once they finalize that, like then people can kind of like try to figure out what's best for like CAs. But if they're just doing casual runs, they can just kind of take whatever they want.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I guess we'll see what happens. Either way, I feel like Jagex is doing a pretty good job with the changes so far, because, of course, before, when they did, like, all those changes at once, it was a little bit chaotic, but where we are now, I feel like we're actually in an okay spot.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, so I think the next thing we're going to talk about is just going to be, like, concluding thoughts, so I'll probably spit out some questions of just, like, various things, and then we'll probably like wrap it up afterwards. I'll also be paying attention to chat to see if there's like anything they want to like throw in, and then maybe we can bring that into the conversation. Since no, I'm sorry, I haven't really been paying too much attention to chat. Forgive me, please. But I think one thing I can probably shoot you a question with right now is probably like, what are some pieces of content that you want to kind of like get more into?
So other pieces of content I definitely want to try more would be like infernal speeds and maybe CM speeds. I wasn't really too interested in CMs before because I completed that log like pretty early in my like PvM career. I got all the kits and the dust as well, but CM wasn't really like interesting because I mean, I wasn't really a big fan of chambers in the first place, the mix of like puzzles and bosses and everything, but I think CMs have a lot more to it. I think CMs are like really in depth, and like the amount of detail that goes into like those speeds and strategies that people do, especially in teams, like it's a lot, and that's kind of something I'm like a little interested in, but haven't really like put the time and effort into going into. And like same thing kind of goes with Inferno as well. Inferno is like the hardest solo content kind of in the game, and especially with like the new items coming out, like I think that also kind of changes my opinion on it as well. Like I think it'd be like really cool to test out some of the new items there as well, like say the shadow, well maybe not the shadow, the ring and Misori for sure. I'm not sure how the shadow would play into that, but yeah, Misori and the ring will make a big difference.
Shout out to Emmys for the raid, by the way. I think with those new items, it is a lot easier to get into Inferno speeds. Now, I've seen some people going at it now, and they've said, like, it's much easier. The HP upkeep is a lot better. I've seen people not even swap to Ancients because of the spec ring. That's how disgusting it is. Like, I think Resort on its own is good, but spec ring, I'm not sure what makes the bigger difference, the spec ring or the Missouri. Probably, I want to say the light barrier makes the bigger difference just because the HP upkeep it's much nicer.
I actually find it really impressive for like the speedrunners who can like really utilize the light barrier to its full potential for Inferno, because like me personally, I'm not the best at managing my prayer. So like the Ring of the Gods is really nice for like my runs, especially. I can't imagine like people going in with less restores than me, but like not having that and still having like enough to get through Zuck. Like that's just kind of insane to me.
All I'm saying, dude, devout booties, put on max cape on my back if I'm running light bear. No ifs, ands, or buts. That is what I'm doing now.
Devout boots. I mean, I was considering that, but a lot of people just tell me that's a bad idea.
It honestly, okay. Well, I'm not here to like preach bad habits, but for me, it helped me get my sub 53. Okay, but then again, sub 53 is not. Well, in the eyes of the speedrunners, they're like, ah, shit, that's free. That's completely free. But for me, it was It was a well-earned achievement, and now I'm gonna try to go for sub 50, but I'm not sure what this is gonna be like that new time that people are gonna be all, hyping up since Missouri and Lightbearer have changed things a whole lot. Hell, I could see new Obliv Diary being like sub 48 maybe. It's crazy. It's actually crazy.
Definitely. I think sub 50 is something I might want to aim for as well, like real soon, just because like the new items are out already and like beta worlds are out, so like that's always a good way to like practice a lot of the Inferno mechanics.
I think the Inferno times, if you do Tourney World right now, count because your run drains now as well. Because I think before it didn't drain, but I think it counts now. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong, because I saw someone say that Tourney Worlds count now, but I don't know if that's factual. So someone in chat, please confirm or deny, because I don't know. Now, in regarding to CM5s, you're talking to somebody who is a bit of a CM5s addict, that's for sure. Things have changed a bit because banking procedure is a little different now, because you want everyone using the new mage shit at the best portal. Not for floor 3 though, because I thought at first the new meta was going to be, okay, everyone uses the new staff, you use the salve, and then the salve triples, right? No, it doesn't work, and it's actually really sad that it doesn't work. I thought it was gonna work, but it doesn't. But yeah, I don't know. Once I actually did start learning how to do CM5s, because everyone has to start somewhere. I was pretty bad at it, but eventually I started picking up on all the neat tricks. I started learning prep. I learned all the roles. Once I started making my banking video, that's when I actually learned how to bank properly, because before then I had an idea, but I didn't master it. So there's a lot of depth in so many things in CM5s, which is why I kind of love it. You don't even have to be like a god tier clicker or have good reaction time as well, that works perfect for me because I'm not the fastest when it comes to reacting to like out of nowhere situations. You can kind of just plan things out and you'll be good. So that's why I like it. And I'm really excited to get back into doing speedruns in the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna get back into it pretty soon. So if you do want to learn it, hit me up, because now's probably a good time to start learning, because everyone's gonna be learning how to do things, myself included.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited to like go back into like the old content with like the new items, because yeah, I mean, been doing TOA kind of since release, so I'm not like burnt out on that, but I feel like I've kind of done most of what I want to do at TOA already. And yeah, besides like Inferno, solo CM5s, I would also like to kind of go back to Duo Tobber as well, because that's something I also did a lot before TOA release. And I think before Duo Rec was kind of like out of hands because of like how much RNG you kind of needed, and also with like clients being nuked and everything. But like I think with the new items, like getting Rec is actually like very doable now, and it's something that I always wanted to go back and go for. I just never really tried to attempt it all that much.
Yeah, I think some of the Recs are kind of open for anyone to grab right now. Like some of them, I know there's some people running. I know there's some people running Duo Tobber. I'm not sure if there's anyone running solo Tobber right now. CM5's a sub 20 has like a new record that happened, so sub 20's done. But people can probably go for sub 19 for CM5s. I think people are running trios and got a good time, but all in all, there's a lot of Recs that are open to grab, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So it'll be interesting to see once everyone's kind of like settled out of TOA and they're back to like main pieces of content, what kind of game breaking stuff comes out, because there's already been some developments, but we're not at the stage where a crazy amount of developments have happened. Alright, so I guess the next question is, okay, some people are going to probably like be like, what are you asking when I ask this? But do you or have you played an Iron Man?
I have played an Iron Man, yes. So I actually played hardcore for a good bit, and my hardcore was like getting pretty good. It was like entering the late game stage, like at the very beginning of late game, but I had a tragic accident where I died at CG. I disconnected, so it
Oh.
wasn't in my hands, but I like just started CG. I was like 10 KC in, disconnected with like maybe like a few hundred HP on Hunliff. And I mean, I was always prepared to die. Like I'm sure like when everybody who plays hardcore, they're just like expecting to die at some point. And it shouldn't really like be a big deal, but it always kind of hits a bit hard. Like when I died, like I just like didn't really want to play the account anymore. Kind of like left it for like maybe a month or two. But after like getting slightly burned out on the main and wanting to like try other aspects in the game, I did play like normal iron after that for a while, and it was pretty fun. Like I really enjoyed just like grinding my own items, sustaining myself with my own supplies and everything. But when you get to like late game stage for Iron Man, like late game, I think that's when Iron Man kind of falls off a lot because a lot of those like big grinds near the end, they're just like way too tedious to upkeep, like supply management and just grinding like really boring items. Like I'm not a fan of Nightmare. I'm not a fan of Corp. I kind of don't want to do those.
Which
And
is
when I get to
fair.
that point, I'm probably just gonna de-iron the account or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and then there's also okay, so the Blood Rune upkeep is not as much of an issue now, thankfully. But if you're going for next, I've heard them say something along the lines of, "Oh, I need a billion brews on average for this grind. This is not fun." So, yeah, supply upkeep does not seem fun. I've thought about it many times, but my mind always drifts to the fact that I'm just not a fan of the chance of getting cucked, like hard cucked on RNG grinds. At least as a main, when I'm trying to grind for money, you'll still make money off of any drops that you get, right? If you get the big ticket drop, hurrah, you just make big coin. Otherwise, like, there's still those other drops that help you make some coin too. So it's not all is lost. So I don't really see myself making an iron. I wanted to actually start a new account. I've already made it. I haven't played it yet just because I kind of made it late. I got done with Inferno late. But I wanted to play the game again on a new account and see what it's like without like trading anything over, because if I do that, there's no point. It's just cheating, right? But I wanted to kind of fresh slate and see what the game is like compared to when I first started playing the game in 2015, because I think that would be a nice way to kind of appreciate a lot of the content that's in the game from PvM and skilling, because I couldn't really try out a lot of the new skilling stuff. I'm max, right? And then there's
Definitely. And like
there,
kind of going off of that, like I really appreciated like a lot of the things that I learned from Iron Man as well. Like I learned so many things about the game that I didn't know about before. Like learning how to like make certain things, like certain supplies, I guess, like from like herb lore, or just like learning how to gather like certain items without just like buying them off the GE. I think it's a really good game mode, and I think it's like something that everybody should like really try at least once.
who knows, maybe I'll try. I don't know if I'll make a hardcore, and if I do, if I die, I'm just gonna accept the fact I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna be a pussy about it. I'm gonna fucking do everything that you shouldn't do. I'm gonna go straight in the wilderness. But will I do it in online on Twitch? Probably not, because I will die instantly. That is a that is a given. I already remember when I tried to when me and the boys we did a PK night for one of our streams. It got ruined when they basically fucking sniped us on stream, and they would not stop harassing us. There was guys that were trying to get in our Discord call and shit. It's like, hey, get in call with us, and then we'll like off you or some shit. I'm like, fuck off, you rats keep following us and shit, and now you want to get on call with us? Yeah, fuck you guys. Thumbs down, log out, dude. It was fun at the start doing it because I'm just running around the wilderness in an officer outfit, but it just got unfun very fast. PKing stuff is probably better off stream, so I don't know. But yeah, have you tried your hand at doing any PvP activities, sir?
PvP. I tried a little bit, honestly. Like I always tried like everything in the game, like at least a handful of times. And PvP, it was fun, but it wasn't really my cup of tea because of like I think like the skill gap between like the people who already know how to do PvP and the people who don't is like way too high to like really get into it at the moment. Like you can kind of get into it for fun with some friends and just like play around a little bit, but if you seriously want to become like a better PvPer, like it's too much at the moment. Like
Yeah.
some people are just like way too good at it now, and
It's
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 like
hard
really hard to
to
keep up.
it's hard to get your hand held through it. Like, at least in PvM, if you're new to something and you have some friends that are really good at it, at least they can kind of handhold you with it. But PvP, typically it's like 1v1, right? Or if you're going in teams, then, oh, a team fight happens and you don't know what to do, or they pick you off first and you're like, ah, fuck, there goes my money. So,
Yeah, like I wouldn't mind like group PKing or anything, but like one-on-one PvP, that's just like a lot right now.
I mean, they did introduce LMS, and I think LMS is probably one of the best ways of trying to get into it. That's probably where I've spent a good amount of time was LMS, because I was trying to get a Gilded BGS on my main and a few of my ult accounts, which I succeeded in. Might go back for the BLS too, because okay, I know we have the Fang, but this is gonna sound weird, but getting a VLS for Nex is not a bad idea, because if you accidentally click Nex, it doesn't put you on cooldown, I don't think. And also looks nice as a good stab weapon to break people out of the ice. But then they have the PvP arena too, but I don't know. I haven't really tried out the PvP arena. But then again, there's still that off chance that you get into it, right? And you fight off against some guy who literally, like, probably the best metaphor would be you are Iron at League of Legends and this guy's Challenger. And you just got put in lane with him. You're fucked.
Pretty much, like, I love LMS. Like, I'm not a bad player at LMS. I think I'm, like, pretty average. But, like, a lot of times when I go into LMS, it's either I'm fighting a bot or I'm fighting somebody who just does, like, takeoffs every switch. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? He's, like, constantly flinching me behind a tree while doing, like, boot and helm takeoffs.
Yeah, it's something. Oh, so this is obviously not going to be RuneScape related. I saw this video yesterday because I was talking to Noob about ARAM and stuff, and he shared something that I thought was kind of cool. So you know the champion in Nivea, right?
Yep.
They have created a way to hold the wave using Anivia's W, so that you always have it where the enemy's wave is always positioned where you're safe and you're never overextended.
Oh, wow.
It is possibly one of the most simplest things, and you never ever think about it until someone does it. And I saw it on video and I'm like, what? I was in disbelief. It's crazy.
I used to play like a fair bit of Nivea in my day, but I don't think I really like even thought about doing that, I guess. I've maybe done it like maybe a handful of times like unintentionally, but that could be like a really good way to like gain small leads throughout like the early lane.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if they're going to even bother like patching it, if that makes sense. I doubt they would do something like that. It'd be weird if they patch it, but you never know. I feel like it's really strong. That's really strong shit. So I don't know. Maybe it'll patch it. But again, I'm not sure. All right. I'm not sure if there's anything else that I'd like to ask. Is there anything on your mind, sir, before we call it a wrap?
No, I think that should be it. Yeah. I guess I just appreciate everybody here for like coming to watch my streams and just like supporting me. If like anybody like whenever somebody stops by, I guess. Like I just kind of honestly, I don't really have like set goals at the moment that I work towards, but a lot of times when I stream, I just kind of go live with like end game content that I just love doing. Like I honestly just stream because I love playing the game. I don't want to like work towards anything, and I know that's kind of like a bit awkward sometimes for people who like want to watch me like actually work towards something and like do something than just like PvM. But like, yeah, that's honestly just like what I like doing. I just log on, I just do like raids or Inferno, and yeah, I just like playing the game really.
Agreed. I mean, in my boat, I sometimes have a goal. Typically, those goals kind of show up whenever a new Oblivion Diary comes up. So, second that shit comes up, I already know what my goals are. Straight back in the diary grind. But outside of that, it's always just trying to improve in the world of CM, or do some really dumb shit like cook some food in a rat suit IRL.
I might try working towards some of those like other grinds that I was mentioning earlier. Like I might try to like get into like Inferno speeds, get into like CM speeds. I think that's all pretty fun. I have never really been like a big speed guy. Like I mean I like doing speeds, but I don't try to go for like absolute PBs or anything besides Duo Tobber. I think Duo
Yeah.
Tobber was the only thing I really tried to like push PBs for because like I was so close to wreck during the time, but yeah, I might try to branch out to like other pieces of content. I think it seems like pretty interesting now with like the new items, the new metas coming up.
In regards to CM speeds, I've done it so many times that it just kind of comes like casually. So I like kind of treat it as like casual speeds in a sense. But I don't like chomping sweets unless it's an actual speed run. So I like my one stamina mix runs. People sleep on the stamina mix, but that shit is actually pretty nice because you don't need that many stamina
mix. I am not surprised, honestly. People take some like crazy shit into like all their like random raids and everything. I've been seeing like ranging mixes and stuff going into like ToB now. Like what?
Oh, I didn't even think of that. See, exactly. I learned something new today, huh? All right. Well, I guess we will call it a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me today, sir. I hope you had fun.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And of course, my good friend Dolan did hit the Flash command, but if you want to see more Flash's stuff, he's a fucking fantastic guy. I suggest you send him a follow. Love him stream. He's a very humble dude. And even then, he did say, like, you know, sometimes it sucks when there's no goals to work toward, but that's not always why people watch the streams. People love watching the streams just to watch homies like you pop the stream. So, yeah, if you'd be so kind, I think it'd only be worth it for you to send the boys to someone. So if you'd like to lead the raid, please do so, sir.
Yeah, sure. I would probably like to send it over to Dex. I think Dex is a really nice guy, and he is very talented at the game. Man has like crazy switches, and he's just like really humble as well. Like super nice guy.
That guy came into my chat and he said that I'm loud as shit, and then he helped me get a compressor. So that is completely fair. He actually helped me big time because my biggest issue was people's eardrums would get shattered. But I think with the compressor, people's ears are probably in a better spot now. So. I know some people would see that as a bad thing. I saw it as a really good thing, so completely fair. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the first rendition of the PvMer Spotlight. I hope to see you guys next time, probably in a few weeks with the next guest, because I do have another guest lined up for it. So, thank you so much, Mr. Flash. I love you all. See you next time.